Hello, this is Dr. Jim Sharps again, coming to you from the IIOM YouTube channel. And today we're going to talk about a fascinating topic. If you remember the last time, we spoke about the contribution of food to your overall energy. And we found that food actually contributes 5% to your energy, as opposed to a lot of people think it's like 60 to 80%. And we talked about the air, rest, water, and food, and the different percentages that they play. So look at that as a reference point for this. And as promised, I'm going to talk about fasting. Fasting is very, very powerful, and it's used for a lot of different things. It's used to kind of clear your mind, for spiritual, emotional enhancement. It's even used for correcting chronic issues like diabetes, blood pressure, cancer, mental issues, slowing the aging process. Is used for a lot of different things. So let's talk about how you can be empowered with fasting. What I want to talk about today is kind of a summary of a presentation that I've done several years ago called Fasting Made Easy. And basically, it was giving people different options to show them, you know what? Everybody can fast. You can fit into one of these options. So let's look at some different types of fasting and see which one fits for you. And you might want to try it, or you might have a friend or a loved one that might be experiencing some of the issues that we talked about earlier, and they're thinking of fasting, but they're afraid, they don't really understand it. And so I want to give you some context for fasting. So let's look at the different types. The first one I want to talk about is the full fast, and that's the one that's the most difficult. And the full fast is complete abstinence from food or water. And I don't recommend this generally without qualified supervising. So unless you're with a qualified practitioner or somebody that can supervise that kind of fasting, I don't recommend it for most people. Now, there are people who have done it, and some people can do it for a few days. But again, it's not practical for most people most of the time. The next one it's called partial fasting. And partial fasting is you're just kind of just doing fluids. So it's juicing, so you can make fresh fruit juices or vegetable juices or veggie fruit juices, combination juices. The master cleanser is an example. The master cleanser is water and lemon and maybe a little bit of maple syrup. Or if you're diabetic, you use molasses as the sugar, so you don't affect the sugar issue, the blood sugar issue. So that is kind of a fasting that almost anybody can do. Now, it does take some discipline. And I should say right at the outset, by any kind of fasting of these first two types, you should be restraining yourself from excess work, activities, etc. So, and the more, the longer the fast, and the closer it is to a full fast or to a partial fast, you should kind of restrict your activities, and you need physical, mental, and emotional rest. So that's a very important context for those. So those are the two types of fasting. And then the third one now is what is called a restrictive fast. And interestingly enough, as you go down the line, you're going to see, oh yeah, I can do that. Most people can do this kind of fast. A restrictive fast, and is where you just restrict certain foods for a certain period of time. So you say for the next 10 days, next 7 days, next 20 days, next 30 days, next 6 weeks, I'm just going to restrict certain kinds of foods. So I'm going to restrict meat or dairy or cheese or pizza or some food that you know is not in your best interest. You're just going to restrict it for a certain amount of time to give your body a chance to reboot, to regenerate itself, and not to deal with the stress that it puts on the digestive system of eating these different types of food. It could be gluten, it could be a number of things. Some food allergen, something that you like, but it doesn't like you. So that is a restrictive fast. And a lot of people can do that. And you can do that for a long period of time. Some people have been doing a restrictive fast of meat and dairy for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. They're called vegetarians. So you can do that. Now, the fourth type of fast I want to talk about is called the rotational fast. So you might not want to give up meat altogether, or dairy, or cheese, or whatever, but you know that you might have an allergic reaction to certain things, or it's not in your best interest. It may be contributing to your blood pressure issues, or diabetes, etc. So a rotational fast is basically say you're going to avoid certain foods on a rotational basis. So I'm only going to eat meat every 3 days or every 4 days instead of every day. So you're rotating it. So it could be once a week or twice a week. So that's the type of a rotational fast, the kind of parameters that you will kind of put yourself around. And that's another thing that people can do. And all of these are different types of fasts that you can do in variations based on what? Your specific personal requirements and your particular capacities. So, based on your age, your gender, your health goals, etc., you can see one of these fasts fitting in. But it's basically avoiding food for a certain period of time. And everybody fasts. Nobody's eating food 24/7. So people, even grazers, they have to take a break. They're not fasting while they're not eating, or they are fasting while they're sleeping. So everybody fasts. That's what they call break fast. You break your fast for breakfast. And that's what it is. You haven't eaten for a certain amount of time. So this kind of a fast is the most popular of these, and which we talked about in an earlier segment. So I'm not going to elaborate it, but you eat for 8 hours of the day, and you restrict eating for the other 16 hours. So it's 1/3, 2/3. So you're eating for 1/3 of the time, and you're not eating for the other 16 hours, or 2/3 of the time. So that's the 8-16. There's various variations. I personally like the 18-hour, where if I have my last meal at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I won't eat again until 8 a.m. the next day. So that's the 18-hour. If you were doing that on a 16-hour, then of course that you can have your last meal like at 4 p.m. and then you don't eat again until 8 a.m. the next day. So those are the different types of fasts. And so hopefully you're encouraged and you feel empowered to be able to at least consider one of these based on what your goals are, what you're trying to do, what your interests might be. But the purpose of this is so you're not intimidated by the word fast, and you can see that you have an opportunity to participate in this very, very powerful mechanism. And to put it in context, and sometimes it takes more energy to digest the food than what it's yielding. And of all of the systems in the body, the nervous system, the circulation system, the lymphatic system, of all those 12 systems, the one that takes up the most energy is the digestive system. So you give that some rest, and then you can see just intuitively how it can contribute to boosting your immune system, to giving your body a chance to heal itself, etc., because it doesn't have to spend all that energy digesting food. And so the last part of this segment, as I promised in the previous segment, I want to ask another question. What do you think is the biggest contributor to your protein? What is the most important factor for the protein stores in your body? Now, some people might say meat. Some people say dairy. A lot of people say meat. Where do you get your protein from? They think you have to have meat. And so the answer I give them when they say, well, where do you get your protein from a vegetarian diet? I basically answer that question by saying, you get it from the same place that all those animals you eat get their protein. And where do they get their protein from? Cows and bulls and lamb and chickens. They don't eat McDonald's. They don't eat chicken. They don't eat beef. They don't drink milk. They get their protein from fruits, vegetables, legumes. They get it from vegetation. They get it from the vegetable kingdom, not from the animal kingdom. So that being said, the biggest contribution to your protein requirements happens to be ding, 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 air. Without air, you can eat all the protein, you can eat all the grass and everything. You're not going to get any of your protein requirements satisfied. Now, what is protein? All protein requires nitrogen. Nitrogen is the foundational element that all protein cells are built around. Amino acids, all those protein is formed around nitrogen. And you get nitrogen from the soil, so you get it from plants. You get it from, you obviously get it from animals and dairy, they're protein, but you have to break down all of those other constituents to get down to the lowest level to rebuild that nitrogen, that protein for your particular cells and for your particular requirements, because you're not any of those animals you eat, so you have to, it has to be reconstituted to make your hair, nails, organs, etc. So getting back to the biggest contributor to nitrogen, where is that? It happens to be air. Nobody really thinks about what are the components of air. Air is about 21%, anywhere 18 to 21% oxygen. But everybody forgets the biggest element in the air is nitrogen, which is well over 70%. About 78% of air is nitrogen. And so that's where you're getting that most important element that all protein cells, all amino acids are built around. So your biggest contributor to your protein requirements is air. It's not even the vegetables that people are talking about. So, but you get those constituents in those foods that combine with the nitrogen in the air, and that's what gives you your health and vitality. So hopefully this was another empowering segment that helps you to kind of understand a little bit more about health, vitality, and your biochemistry, so that you can be freed from a lot of the myths and misconceptions that are out there. And the idea, again, of what we're trying to do here is just try to empower you to understand how you can add 15 to 30 productive years to your life, put life in your years and years to your life. So hopefully you found this to be a helpful segment, and we want to continue to provide empowering segments to you like this. So if this was helpful to you, please like us below and give us your comments, your questions, and any other topics you'd like us to cover in the future. And so again, I want to wish you health, happiness, and God's richest blessings. Until I see you next time, bye for now, and God bless.